Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So it looks like we're rolling into the non-recession recession. And this is something that I actually predicted quite a while ago as the Federal Reserve started to raise interest rates and everybody was predicting the recession. I said it, that this may be one of the situations in which that we don't experience the pain of a recession like we would typically have experienced. Now, what is the worst part of a recession? Everybody loses their job and the corporations get bailed out. And this is something that the people absolutely hate. And it's one of the things that I know the Federal Reserve was very concerned about as we start moving into the new way that the monetary policy is going to be handled. I mean, even Janet Yellen said that she doesn't see a financial crisis occurring in our lifetime. And now, a lot of times when I hear like financial crisis, I kind of automatically assume it with the recession, but these are two very different things. They're not the same at all. And if you have a situation in which that the financial markets don't freeze up, right? I mean, this is something we have to think about. If they don't freeze up, then the availability of credit continues to flow. Now, during a recession, financial markets start to freeze up, very much like we experienced during the Great Financial Crisis. And we would have experienced it here when the banking crisis started to take place earlier in the year. Remember with SVB, right, the Silicon Valley Bank. And when you think about the bank term funding program that was immediately launched as soon as that bank started to fail, I knew back then that the Federal Reserve had tools set up to deal with banking financial crisis. And that's one of them. And I think there's other tools that they don't exactly tell everybody about, but that some people are in the know and are aware of it, right? So when it comes to the Federal Reserve dealing with a financial crisis, I think they have the tools set up that they just don't tell us about. And when it comes to unemployment, you think about it, right now we are sitting in a situation in which that there was so many jobs available that were not getting filled. All these people had all these jobs at all these corporations out there, and nobody wanted to work at the restaurants anymore. Nobody wanted to be a bartender or a waitress or anything else like that. And so what we had was this huge gap in the amount of workers that were available to participate in the service industry as everybody was operating up in the corporate level. I mean, I remember reading about how people were getting jobs at these corporations who had absolutely no skill set and whatsoever in the position in which that they got hired for. Right? They were basically just hiring warm bodies. Well, now, as these corporations start to fail, you're going to find that those people who get laid off are going to go find work over at the service industry. The unemployment doesn't spike. Right? It stays low. Now, give us some time and we might find where unemployment will rise, and that's exactly what the Federal Reserve is looking for. And it's something that, again, this is something that I have said quite a while ago. In fact, I'll leave a link down in the description talking about how the Federal Reserve wants you broke and with no job, jobless and broke. Right? Because if you're jobless and broke, then you're not a consumer. And if you're not a consumer, then inflation that they're trying to fight would come down. At least that's the idea that's coming out of the Federal Reserve. That's their strategy behind it. I mean, I personally look at it more from the supply side of things and said it wasn't going to work. Like the idea of trying to hurt the consumer at the same time gain support from the supply side isn't going to work. I mean, why would the suppliers, manufacturers, distributors out there want to invest into a situation in which that the consumer is going to get damaged? They won't. They simply won't do it. So the help from the supply side that the Federal Reserve was looking for to try and bring inflation down isn't showing up. They're not going to be there. So it's all about trying to get the consumer to stop consuming. And when you're sitting in a situation in which that the unemployment doesn't go up, that means people have jobs. People have employment. People have money. And if they have money, they're going to spend it. And it doesn't matter how high the inflation is. People won't stop spending their money. They won't stop spending credit. The only time that they will stop doing it is when you cut them off from credit or they don't have any money. So as long as you have a job, you have access to credit. I mean, it's the way it just goes down. It doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it fair, and it doesn't make it smart, but it does make it the situation that we are experiencing. Right? I mean, take a look at the links that I leave down in the description. Like, I think I didn't quite read through the article. I just saw the headline, but it said something about like more hard hat jobs available now than just about any time. I mean, these are high paying jobs. If you put a hard hat on to go to work, most of the time you're getting paid fairly well, even if it's like a grunt position on a job site. It's, just a regular laborer or something like that. Generally, that's a fairly decent paying job. And there's a lot of these things, more of them available now than just about any time. And what does that say out there? That good, high-paying jobs or employment is available out there. And if it's available, where's the recession going to come from? I mean, you can have the inverted yield curve. You can have all the situations that show the signs of a recession like we would have typically experienced in the past, but we're not experiencing it this time because it's not the same situation that we are rolling into. When the corporations are sitting right now on a ton of cash due to the fact that they were able to gorge on incredibly cheap interest rates during the pandemic. When the Federal Reserve took their interest rates to zero, the demand for corporate debt shot through the roof. And when those prices of corporate bonds went up, the yields went down and the corporations just gorged on that cash. Now you're going to find a lot of these corporations were zombie corporations who are going to fail. Right? Bad business decisions never should have been in existence in the first place. Those ones are going to fail. We're going to see it. We're seeing it now. We're seeing it almost every day. But there was way over expansion that took place during that time. And these zombie corporations that fail, what ends up happening from it is those people, the employed people, will then go start finding positions at other jobs, other corporations, the service industries. Right? And those zombie corporations, those zombie people will stop sucking all the available resources and talent and availability to the viable corporations, making it easier for them, right? Producing the ability for green shoots to start because they're not in the way, taking up the business that shouldn't be going to a zombie corporation. Right? Once those guys are out of the mix, then we'll have a situation in which that the economy can grow in a more stronger, robust, stronger situation. But that's not going to happen until we have some massive pain that takes place. And this is what the Federal Reserve is really looking for. But they don't want to be in such a situation that everybody loses their job, right? So they just want to make a recession for the rich, a rich session, whatever they call that, right? So they're going to make it difficult on them, cut the luxuries out. So nobody's buying those things anymore or trying to create a situation, and that's happening. You see the situation in which that the Federal Reserve is trying to, keep the interest rates elevated for a significant amount of time. And what you're going to find is people are going to be hopeful, wishful thinkers that the Federal Reserve is going to be lowering interest rates soon. And just even off of that idea, they will actually start buying into houses, taking out mortgages to buy houses and cars and stuff like that in the belief that they will be able to refinance their debts into the future, right? And that before the Fed even does anything, they won't even have to make a move. All you have to do is just put the narrative out there that that's going to take place and you can stimulate the economy. Watch, this is going to happen. You watch. Before they lower interest rates, they are going to stimulate the economy by simply putting out the narrative that they will be soon lowering interest rates. By doing that, people will be diving back into commerce again. So even if we have a recession kick in where it is very painful and people slow down on the commerce and the interest rates are elevated, the Federal Reserve can continue to stimulate the economy just by putting out the narrative that they are planning on dropping interest rates going into the future. And that will get people out there spending money again. You watch and see, these things are taking place. It's happening all the time. All right. I kind of babbled a little bit. Uneducated economist, you let me know.